Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Jerome, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today, I wanted to talk about none other than Raigeki. So, Raigeki is a pretty cool card. It's an old school card. I'm pretty sure all of us know what it does, but if you don't, basically, it's very simple. It just says destroy all monsters your opponents control. Right? This card was banned, I believe, for like 10 years, and I think it came off like in 2014 or something like that. I wasn't playing then, so I have no idea. But yeah, and it's at 3, and basically no one's playing it. And I always wondered, why is that, right? And so recently, I've actually been playing it in a few decks. I played it in a Go in Second Senpai strategy deck, and yeah, it just felt like it was a free win every time I had it in my opening hand. I really didn't have to try as much. Uh, yeah, I felt like I was just carried because of Raigeki a lot of the times. But it is Tenpai, so I said, okay, you know what? Maybe I could have won without the Raigekis because Tenpai just does Tenpai things. So I decided to side deck it in Fire King Snake Eyes. I side decked 3 of them, and sure enough, every time I opened up with Raigeki, it again just felt like it was a free given win. And yeah, so then I started to think back on the times that I did play Raigeki, and I remembered earlier this year, I even have a deck profile of this. I did remote regionals, and I ended up getting top 8 with Kashtira, and I main decked 3 Raigekis over Imperms. And yeah, and I remembered that every time I had Raigeki in that tournament, it worked out very good. So then I started going back and looking at my Sky Striker decks that I played in the past, and I did something that, for some apparent reason, that no one was really doing, which was playing 3 Raigekis in Sky Strikers. And again, it felt like a free given win every time I had it. There was times where people would set up these incredible boards, right, with all these monsters with crazy effects. The thing is that none of them had anything that would protect them from destruction, or anything that negated a spell or negated activations or anything. I would just simply Raigeki, wipe the field, and then push for game. Right. Also, Raigeki is really cool because it forces your opponent to react to it. If they just sit there and allow you to activate Raigeki and destroy all their monsters, and then they got nothing to do after that, they're pretty much losing. It forces negates. It forces your opponents to just waste a lot of resources instantly. Like, think about it. Let's just say you're playing against Snake Eyes, and they have Flame Burge and Appaloosa with 2 monster negates, but they didn't make Appaloosa with IP because that's typically something that they really don't do. And you start your turn with Raigeki. Wipes their field, right? They don't have a way of stopping it unless they win Hope Harbinger. But we're seeing recently that a lot of people are not really doing that line. A lot of people are trying to do the Fire King version, which is, it is what it is. But let's just say they didn't make it with IP. They don't have Hope Harbinger. Raigeki wipes their field. Okay, cool. They get 2 monsters back off of Flame Verge. That's, phenomenal for them. But what if you had another Raigeki and you just activate the other one and it wipes their monsters? You left them with really nothing, and now they're pretty much open unless they have like a back row or hand traps to save them. They're pretty much cooked at that point, right? And it goes for everything. Like, even when I was playing against Tenpais and my opponent had seals, they pretty much made seals and pass. I pretty much got them to activate their seal effect immediately. They summoned out the other dragon, and I just Raigeki. It was just game. Like, there's nothing there for my opponent to do at that point. It's just hand traps, but it just didn't matter because I had enough to push. And I don't see why a lot of the top players just treat Raigeki as just a garbage card or whatnot. Whereas they sit there and they're like, yeah, you can play because your deck inherently can just like push through a bunch of interruptions, which that's great and everything. But the way I'm looking at it is, I'm spending maybe 3 to 4 cards in hand, roughly. Sometimes 5 cards in hand. Extra deck monsters, probably even cards from my deck. Probably, you know, just a bunch of different cards, a combination of cards, right? Just to push through mostly just their monster interruptions. And I'm trading like, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards to just push through their monster interruptions. Whereas all I could have done was just activated one card, just activated just one Raigeki, and it would have got rid of all that. Or it would have baited out their negates and stuff like that. I mean, just let's think about it. If you were playing against Voiceless, and they had their typical Omni Negate, and their trap card, the Old Man Cerebus, low on the field, and your opening hand consisted of full engine cards. Yeah, okay, cool. You're gonna play through your engine cards. The problem is that now you're wasting at least one card is automatically going to be negated, so that's one card down, right? So now you're down to 5 cards. They're going to obviously trigger the Cerebus to pretty much get the other Cerebus out. So now any inherent summons that you do is pretty much going to be wasted. So let's say you had to give up 2 cards in your hand to get a X-Egg monster in the field. All right, so now you're down 3 cards. You summon that X-Egg monster, they banish it, right? So now you're down 3 cards in your opening hand, plus an X-Deck monster that you probably needed, or they could just wait until you get to your essential monster from your X-Deck that you need. They banished it, and now you're pretty much back to square one, right? You wasted all that, where all you could have done was just activated one Raigeki. Now they're forced to Omni Negate that, because if they don't, then it wipes all their monsters, gets rid of it, and then they could trigger the spell card in the graveyard to summon out another Skull Guardian to get the to get their Omni Negate. But the thing is, they just traded all their monsters for just a one Omni Negate. Whereas now, they're more than likely going to negate the Raigeki. Right? You just traded the Omni Negate for just one card in your hand. Now, if you opened up 2 Raigekis, or if you opened up a Droplet, you're even better now. I mean, it's just, what I'm saying? So, like, to me, it just makes sense to just use a Raigeki to trade for everything, or to trade for their interruption, rather than me waste 3 cards, 4 cards in hand, cards from the extra deck, maybe even cards from the main deck, just for it to get me nowhere, because I couldn't get past all their monster negates on field. Now, granted, Raigeki does have its times where it's not that good whatsoever. Like, again, if your opponent has like cards that can't be destroyed by card effects, let's just say you're playing against Horus. Obviously, Raigeki's not going to do anything against that deck. So, it does, you have to pick your battles with Raigeki. But it's the same thing that you can say with like Dark Ruler, right? There's some matches where Dark Ruler is just terrible, and there's some matches where Dark Ruler is godly, right? If you're playing against sprites and you have Dark Ruler and you ruler their sprite field, you pretty much just won, right? It's the same kind of concept with Raigeki, right? So I do think that Raigeki is a very strong card. And one thing I just want to end you on is, so I'm pretty sure you're not playing Raigeki, but let's just say Raigeki was never made, right? It was never a Yu-Gi-Oh card yet. It never came out. It never existed. It wasn't in any video games. It wasn't in a TV show, nothing like that. You just wipe your whole memory of Raigeki. Like, let's pretend like it never existed. And then in the next pack that comes out, let's just say in this scenario, in info, right? Let's just say a week before the pack gets released, all of a sudden they reveal that a card like Raigeki is going to be released, and then everyone goes to read it, and it's like, oh, it says destroy all monsters your opponent controls. How many of you would actually sit there and say, I need to get a playset of this card? Because I'm not gonna lie, I would 100% sit there if this card never existed, it never was made, never even thought of, and it came out in the next set, I would 100% sit there and say, I need to get 3 copies of this card, because that card is insane. So that's the way I was looking at it. Was just like, if this card was made now, I would definitely be playing it. And so that's what made me sit there and say, you know what, I'm going to give Raigeki a chance, because, no, people are sleeping on it. And on top of that, I think, I believe the person that won the SAWCQ also side decked one Raigeki. I believe he did. I mean, hey, he played 1. Imagine if he played 3. I mean, he still won the entire thing, but, I'm just saying, if he was playing 3, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be like, all right, I gotta start playing like Raigekis. I'm just saying, you know, give it a try it out. You know, you don't have to go to like a big event like Nats or anything like that with 3 Raigekis. Just give it a try at your locals, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna sit there and be like, okay, you know, I kind of respect this card now. Recently, since I've been playing with Raigeki and I noticed how strong it is, I've been looking at my inboards lately and seeing that yeah, you know what, I could possibly lose to a Raigeki here. So I've been trying to figure out ways to like protect my field from Raigeki lately, because you never know. If it worked for me, I'm just like, all right, who else is also like trying to, you know, like looking at other cards like Raigeki and sitting there saying, oh, you know what, I might try that out. You know, so just something to look out for, something to think about. And I appreciate you guys so much for stopping by and watching. And if you liked it, obviously like, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.